It's only a B film, but it probably has a certain je ne sais quoi nowadays. And I did several days shooting of this. Never met Dirk Bogarde, but there was a couple of German officers at the back of my Kubelwagen. In actual fact, I do have my wife Patricia very kindly took a still frame of the which I have in here. I must show you that incidentally. My love of cars. I'm even working on someone's Rolls Royce at the moment.
That's a handsome car, isn't it?
Yeah. Somewhere in here, look, is
Eddie Elmhurst
in
at the wheel of a
there it is.
Volkswagen Kubelwagen.
That is me. That's I don't think you can see that. That's a stop frame. You wouldn't be able to see that at all. That's my wife very kindly took this still frame, organised it through Anglia Television, and so that's it. Anyway, so I had to drive this car. I had several days shooting of this to do, and there was an actor called Ferdy Main in it. He was a sort of fairly well known actor with German descent, and in actual fact I think he was Jewish and he escaped to this country from Germany in the early 30s. In actual fact I think he helped the British in MI5 and all that during the war and all that. But he did lots of films. He was in Trouble in Store with Norman Wisdom and all that sort of thing. Anyway, he was in the back of the car as a German officer. Anyway, I did several days of that. Anyway, one night I went to a girlfriend's family party, and there was a lady there, a very thespian type lady there called Joy Mott, and she was an actress of some repute. And in actual fact, she was the second wife of my girlfriend's father's father or brother, something like that, Anyway, I said I have just come off the shoot, and she seemed terribly enthusiastic, and she said, Edmund, in a high voice, I could see you in the film business, you'll be lovely there, you're a lovely chap and all that type of thing. I could see you in it, And I didn't know anything about the film business at all I could think of being a cameraman or a director, of course, So, but my only connection, as I say, with the film business, I did make my own tape recorder when I was about 14. When I was about 16 or 17 at school, I was elected to go on to the film circle, and I used to be involved in choosing films to be shown to the boarders on a Sunday evening in the sort of Christmas term and the spring term. And they had this huge 60mm projector, and we had half-an-hour reels, and we had Scott the Antarctic, big films, and I chose them with others, So I was a projectionist, I don't know why I was chosen to do that, but that's my only connection. So anyway, the lady encouraged me to do that, and so over a period of 2 or 3 years, I wrote lots of letters to documentary companies, and eventually got an interview with ABC Television probably about a couple of years before I actually joined, probably in 1964. Anyway, this girlfriend...
ABC were one of the very early broadcasters, TV companies.
Yes. And so the interview was with ABC around about 1964, and anyway, I had to get a proper job basically, so I actually went into advertising in '62 because I think my girlfriend's father, who I was got engaged, and he said, "You've got to get a proper job, dear boy," type of thing.
So did you almost give up on the TV?
I did. Yes, the ambition. I didn't think I was never going to get in, and so I had 2 years in advertising. But even that, there was some connection with TV there because I was an advertising assistant with a company that made Anodin and all that. My office was in Cheney Street, just off Good Street, and It's called International Chemical Company, and I was an advertising assistant there. And sometimes I'd have to go off to ITV studios around England, up to certainly down to Harlech in I don't know whether it was at Cardiff or Cardiff, and then to Southampton ATV, and I used to have to take products along, and sometimes they would be promoting. They used to make their own toothpaste called Colinos, and they was like sometimes make for Sainsbury's and all that, and so Sainsbury's put their own packaging on, and sometimes I even had to go into Lord Sainsbury's house in Regent's Park, actually deliver something one day. But I was quite, when I went to the studios in my connection and advertise, I thought, oh, this is really lovely, I really love this.
What were they doing in this? Were they shooting the commercials in this? It
was basically, they were soaps. That's the origination of the soap.
Of course, the soap opera.
These were called advertising magazines. So there could be a chap sitting at his office desk, and what glasses are these? Specsavers. You have Specsavers, and every line was promoting the product.
Product placement.
Product placement, and it was all. That was done, and there was a Pilkington.
I never realised they were doing this on UK TV back in those days.
That was done in 62. Oh yeah, that was done 62 to 64.
Right.
Then, funny enough, the Pilkington report came out, which in fact I have a copy over there, to say this is bad, and they banned it.
They did until a few years ago when they brought it back.
Yes. So anyway, but. It's a long story really. So eventually, I moved up north to get a far better job, and I'd only been up there literally a month or so, and I got this letter from ABC Television. We have a vacancy in London. Are you interested? I went down for the interview, and they said, oh, it's actually going to be in sound. We think you're more suited to sound. You're into your music and so forth.
Was this one of your letters that had been sat on a pile for?
Well, it was from an interview. I'd actually had an interview with them at Teddington, and very kindly, someone had arranged for me to have an interview, get an interview, and it was so competitive then. In fact, it was my girlfriend's father, who was in advertising with the Daily Mail. And he was pretty high up in the Daily Mail on the advertising side, and often when I used to go home to him, there'd be silver cups there from his golf, for his range of his golf, and so he probably played with the sales director golf of ABC Television. I can't remember his name now, but I didn't know his name. So I think an interview was arranged, just a casual interview, and from that casual interview, it slightly upsets me really. I'm so bloody lucky. 2 years later, I received, can you imagine it? But it was so competitive. And anyway, so I had the interview, 3 besuited people there, a 40-minute interview. They said, after that, go wait and collect your expenses and so forth. And they called me in again and said, now then, what's your name? What's your name? And I said, it's Edmund Elmhurst. And they slightly giggled and said, well, if you came here, you'll be called Eddie, and we're going to christen you Eddie, because they thought Edmund was a little bit flowery, or whatever the term was then,
And you weren't going to argue with that.
So anyway, so there my career started in television. Yeah, well, during that time, I had 6 weeks to spare, and I could leave my company earlier. I was still desperate to go in the Royal Air Force. I don't know if you want this on tape, but I was desperate to go in the Royal Air Force, and very naughtily, Samantha had been born. She was about 2 months old, And I so always wanted to go in the Royal Air Force. I wanted to go be aircrew. So very naughtily, very deceitful, one day we had moved down to London, waiting to start ABC television. And I packed my bag and rang my wife up to say I'm going off a selection board. I was away for 2 nights. Went down to Biggin Hill. I did all the tests, 3 days. Obviously, I failed aircrew, or it wasn't sufficient. I did seem to do quite well, but they did quiz me quite well about having a baby and all that, and I was 25 and all that sort of thing. But they did say I could, would I consider air traffic control? I didn't do it, so I did go into television after all. Anyway, ABC TV.
Yeah, thankfully you didn't join the RAF and you went to ATV. So
ABC.
That's
ABC television.
Yeah, you joined ABC.
Yeah, I did have a stint at ATV for 3 weeks, but I was encouraged by my in-laws that I should move to fit in with my wife's request, really. But never mind.
What can you remember about
ABC?
Your first day?
My first day. Oh, I always remember. I think I was probably doing a drama actually the first day. I don't think this is silly, really. No, the first day I was doing a drama and I was pushing a boom, and I had like this, pushing the boom backwards and forwards. You see, and I had my script. I had my script on there. And I mark it up if the chap was if there was a camera coming into the boom, you have to move the boom away, and if well, it's different from a Fisher boom, darling. Yeah. Latterly.
Yeah, this is 21st century, isn't it?
Yeah, or latterly, this is a documentary boom.
Mm-hmm.
So
you were sat on a.
Well, I was pushing the boom.
You were pushing a boom, which was on trolley wheels.
The trolley, and you wind this, and there's a picture of me on the 1974 yearbook, don't forget. But that's I used to use that on documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to use that goes down my boom operating experience. In boom operating, you seem to think anybody can do it, but it was great. It was very skilled. You have to have very good balance. You must never, God will never ever hit the artist on the head with it, and mind that chandelier as well, and always keep them on mic when the chap turns his head. And no shadows.
And no shadows.
No
yes.
shadows.
Yeah, we can't have any of that going on there. No.
Anyway, so my first day, Kevin, if you lay that down.
Yes, I'll lay it down.
So we got trodden upon.
Yeah. That's a few pounds there, isn't there?
It's about £1,000 there.
About £1,000.
I know it's right. Yeah. So the first day I was pushing the boom, and there's at the back of it, you've got to make sure it doesn't hit your head. And I always remember that evening dreaming about just mind your head, thinking about all that. So that was my doing the dramas,
But nothing calamitous on day one.
No, and the people are teaching me. Everybody is very helpful and introducing themselves to me, and I haven't really sort of thought about it in great deal, but we were very kind. But we did so much there, and we did Saturdays. Well, it was quite fun. We worked a 4-day week then. It probably was 40 hours. 4-day week, so that's 4 days of 10 hours, and you worked Monday to Thursday, and you could have Friday off and Saturday and Sunday, and then sometimes, as it was a light entertainment company, we were often working. So 6 months a year we were working weekends, But you had 3-4 days off, and if you had to come in on the your 5th day, they'd pay you time and a half, and if you had to work your weekends or your notional days, supposing they said, no, you're working Saturday, Sunday, they would give you Monday, Tuesday off. And if you had to work those, you'd be paid double time. It was called double. Bubble.
Yeah, double bubble.
Yeah, double bubble. So we did
what programs we.
What programs did we do? Well, we did
that?
the Eamon Andrews. We did the Eamon Andrews show, which was a late night Sunday night program, because we were with ABC Television, and ABC TV were responsible for the weekend productions throughout the country, basically. So we had about 2 or 3 years, because it was ABC probably started about 62. I joined in 1966. 68 it merged into Thames TV. But I did a 2-year stint with ABC. And the Eamon Andrews show, it was a late night show, and they would have mega stars on there. I mean, I'd never worked with Sophie Loren, but I think they had Sophie Loren. And even Samantha's mother would remember, like, it was either Robert Mitchell or someone like that they had. But we had, politicians, Lord Boothby, we had some mega stars, Diana Dawes, even Cassius Clay. We had some mega people, and Zsa Zsa Gabor, and I would say she was a bit flirtatious. She didn't ask me to go into a dressing room or anything like that. No, but we had some Raquel Welch.
And these were...
They were really, really international stars, and they probably even had Sammy Davis Jr. at the time. There were so many. And basically it was a late night show. They would have Eamon Andrews, 4 guests, and then they would have a production number. And that could be anything from Shirley Bassey, Dusty Springfield, Rolling Stones, what's the word, Brian Ogre and the Trinity. That was always interesting, because I was always interested in how we'd mic that up, because we'd the pianist, keyboard. It was Judy Driscoll and
yes.
Brian Ogre, something like
yes.
that. And he had this Leslie...
Wheels on Fire.
Yeah, and he had this Leslie organ. You had to put 2 mics on it, because this...
the rotating speaker.
Yeah,
yeah.
So he always had to put 2 mics on it. I mean, I remember this was 52 years ago, Kerry. So,
and you were very young.
I was 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And reasonably new
yes.
into the business.
Completely.
So, and you were working alongside megastars.
Oh, we were.
Who you'd seen, I presume you had a television, so you'd
Well,
seen these people.
Funny enough, I wasn't really into television, and I'm not really into television now. I'm very much a radio man, and I'm always, Patricia, my wife, likes television, and she actually works in television now, still there after about 50 years in the newsroom. But I'm much more of a radio man, and I like to, I find it boring. I just probably running out of time. I have all these books. Every book has been looked at, but it hasn't been read through thoroughly. But you can see my interests of life, from Aston Martin to Agincourt to sort of very varied music, very varied interests I have.
Indeed.
Anyway, we're verging off the subject rather.
But what I was thinking was that, and it's probably better that you weren't into TV and you weren't overawed by it.
No,
because I'm guessing you were more focused on the job as opposed to the people, the stars themselves.
Yes.
It wasn't a challenge really for you not to have your not to be distracted by the superstars, the megastars, and you could focus on the job. You
were told, I always remember, not to, at age 25, not to upset the artist, and especially in drama, if you're pushing the booms, you're at floor level, of course. You're standing on the floor and you've got the actors sort of 10, 15 feet away. You mustn't get eye contact, because it would really throw them off the.
Indeed,
throw them off the job. You're told to don't make eye contact with the other, or don't upset the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I ever did upset the artist. And if you upset the artist, well, you lose your job, wouldn't you? But as I say,
any artists who were particularly pleasant to you back in those days? at ATV? That you
ABC.
That's- I keep
ABC.
saying ATV,
Yeah,
that comes later,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Um,
You're 3 weeks at ATV.
Yeah,
No, ABC.
they're all just nice. I mean, Liberace. they're all pleasant, really. I mean, even, Tom Jones. They were all pleasant.
And Tom Jones then, he was...
Well, up and coming,
Yeah.
And as I say, I always remember all these little asides. I always remember around about, I don't know, 68, 69, we had a not such a posh canteen then, and we were queuing up for our egg and chips in the evening one Sunday evening, and he came along and said, "Oh, come before me." No, queue up. And often they
So Tom Jones took his place in the queue
he took his place in the rifle
for his egg and chips.
Of course he did, yes.